Hello, you're watching A News. I'm Dilek Tuna. Here are the headlines. Putin proposes direct talks with Ukraine on the 15th of May in Istanbul. Zelensky says Kyiv is ready. A fragile ceasefire holds between India and Pakistan as Trump offers more help. Iran and the United States are to resume nuclear talks in Oman amid clashing red lines. Tensions remain high as Vladimir Putin proposes renewed peace talks with Ukraine in Istanbul, just as Western leaders unite behind a 30-day ceasefire plan starting Monday. With mounting pressure from the US and European allies, Russia's counteroffer sets the stage for a possible diplomatic turning point.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has proposed direct peace talks with Ukraine to be held in Istanbul on May 15th, stating they would occur without preconditions and aim to eliminate the root causes of the war and achieve lasting peace.
So despite everything, we propose to the authorities in Kyiv to resume the negotiations that they interrupted at the end of 2022, to resume direct talks. And I should like to emphasize without any preconditions. We propose that they begin without delay as early as next Thursday, 15th May, in Istanbul, where they were held earlier and where they were interrupted.
The offer comes in response to a major push by Western leaders, including those of the UK, France, Germany, Poland and Ukraine, who met in Kyiv on Saturday and called for an unconditional 30-day ceasefire beginning May 12th.
And so all of us here, together with the US, are calling Putin out. If he's serious about peace, then he has a chance to show it now. No more ifs and buts, no more conditions and delays.
This ceasefire is intended to last 30 days on land, in the air and at sea, with monitoring provided mainly by the United States of America.
Backed by US President Donald Trump, the leaders warned Moscow that failure to comply would result in sweeping new sanctions targeting its energy and banking sectors.
In the event of a violation of this ceasefire, we have agreed that massive sanctions would be prepared and coordinated between Europeans and Americans.
Putin dismissed European ultimatums but said Russia is open to talks and a possible truce, insisting any ceasefire must be mutual and that Western military aid to Ukraine must stop. Russia said it is preparing a delegation for the Istanbul talks and awaits a formal response from Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a post on X, welcomed Russia's shift in tone and urged Moscow to commit to a full and lasting ceasefire starting since Monday, saying Ukraine is ready to respond.
US President Donald Trump says trade talks with China in Geneva have led to what he calls a total reset in a friendly and constructive way. Both sides wrapped up the first day of negotiations and are set to continue on Sunday.
Talks between top US and Chinese officials continued behind closed doors in Geneva on Saturday, as both sides try to ease tensions in a trade war that has shaken the global economy. US President Donald Trump took to his Truth Social platform, calling the talks a total reset and saying great progress was made, though he gave no specific details. Trump emphasized the need for China to open its market to American businesses, saying that would benefit both countries. The two delegations, led by US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng, met at the Swiss ambassador's residence in Geneva on Saturday. The meetings ended in the evening with no public statements and no confirmed steps toward lowering tariffs yet. Negotiations are expected to resume on Sunday as pressure mounts to resolve the standoff and avoid further damage to global trade.
Albania holds parliamentary elections on Sunday, in which Prime Minister Edi Rama is seeking an unprecedented fourth term in office. Rama, in power as head of the Socialist Party since 2013, is favourite to win against his old rival, former Prime Minister Salih Berisha of the Democratic Party. Rama has spent the last week reiterating his promise to join the EU by the end of the decade. Polls show Rama with a commanding lead over Berisha, who has been weakened by graft charges. But his party may need help from smaller parties to maintain a slim fourth-seat majority. Results of the voting are expected on Monday. A fragile ceasefire is holding between India and Pakistan after days of intense cross-border fighting, the worst in nearly 3 decades. US President Donald Trump says Washington will help the rivals find a long-term solution to the Kashmir conflict.
After 4 days of intense fighting, India and Pakistan have agreed to a fragile ceasefire, but tensions remain high. Artillery fire was reported just hours after the truce took effect, underscoring the volatility along the line of control. The ceasefire comes after a deadly escalation involving missile strikes, drone incursions, and shelling that killed nearly 70 people, most of them on the Pakistani side, and injured dozens more. The pause in hostilities was brokered with help from the United States and other nations. However, fresh explosions in Kashmir overnight have renewed fears the ceasefire could collapse. India accused Pakistan of breaking the truce and warned of a strong response. Pakistan reiterated its commitment to peace and called for restraint on both sides. US President Donald Trump welcomed the ceasefire, praised both nations' leadership, and offered to mediate the Kashmir dispute. He also announced plans to boost trade with both countries. Meanwhile, power has been restored in some border towns and daily life is slowly resuming. But residents remain wary, unsure how long the calm will last.
India and Pakistan have agreed to an immediate ceasefire following days of heightened military tensions. Earlier, both countries had accused each other of launching drones and missiles targeting military bases and hitting civilian populations. Hira Mustafa from Islamabad has more.
Following several days of escalating military tensions between India and Pakistan, US President Donald Trump announced on Saturday via the social media platform X that both nations had agreed to a full and immediate ceasefire. Pakistan's foreign minister welcomed the development, expressing gratitude to the friendly nations, particularly the United States, Gulf countries and Turkey, who played key roles in mediating the agreement. As part of the deal, India and Pakistan have reactivated military communication channels and hotlines to prevent future misunderstandings, Pakistani officials confirmed. The current escalation began when India launched missile strikes into Pakistan-administered Kashmir and Punjab province. Claiming to target terrorist camps, Pakistan denied the presence of such camps and accused India of intentionally striking civilian areas. Tensions escalated further when both sides accused the other of targeting military bases, key defense installments, and civilian areas. Pakistani officials condemned the strikes and vowed a forceful response. India called Pakistan's strikes a provocation and said its forces would hit back in equal measure. In retaliation, Pakistan initiated a large-scale military operation targeting Indian air bases on Saturday. The speed and scale of the escalation alarmed the global community, with fears mounting over the potential for nuclear conflict. The ceasefire, brokered through urgent diplomatic efforts, has been widely welcomed by international experts, who emphasize the need for sustained peace between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. Analysts warn that renewed hostilities could have devastating regional and global consequences. Hira Mustafa for A News in Islamabad.
Earlier, we spoke with Kaiser Nagra, chairman of the Belt and Road Initiative for Sustainable Development in Islamabad, who shared his insights on the fragile yet crucial role of diplomacy in the region following the ceasefire. He also highlighted the importance of international support for de-escalation and regional stability.
The ceasefire between India and Pakistan is a victory for diplomacy and a testament to Pakistan's commitment to dialogue as the only path to peace. Our armed forces, especially the Pakistan Air Force, responded with professionalism and precision under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter, exercising our inherent right to self-defense. India's recent unprovoked aggression aimed to assert regional dominance, but Pakistan's swift and proportionate response shattered the myth of India's military superiority and sent a clear message: we will defend our sovereignty decisively and lawfully. This moment will be remembered by India as the day their hegemonic designs were crushed by Pakistan's resolve. Their arrogance met our unity and strength. We thank the United States of America, Saudi Arabia, and all global partners who supported de-escalation. I personally extend deep gratitude to our brotherly nations, Azerbaijan, Turkey, and China. Azerbaijan's leadership, people, and media showed exemplary solidarity, reminding the world of our deep-rooted brotherhood and shared values. As a profound Pakistani, I reaffirm Pakistan's unwavering stand for peace, sovereignty, and regional cooperation.
Delegates from Iran and the US are meeting today in Muscat for follow-up nuclear talks. Turaj Shiraliliu reports more from Tehran.
Delegates from Iran and the United States are meeting today in Muscat, Oman, to follow up on the nuclear talks mediated by the Omani Foreign Ministry. Iranian and US officials are holding their fourth round of high-level talks in the Omani capital today. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and US Special Envoy for Middle East Steve Witkoff are negotiating indirectly on Iran's nuclear program. In these talks, Tehran demands the US-imposed unilateral sanctions on its nuclear program be lifted, and Washington wants Iran to dismantle its nuclear enrichment program. This demand has been categorically rejected by Tehran as its red line. Ahead of today's talks, Iran's foreign minister visited Saudi Arabia and Qatar, two major US allies in the region, on Saturday. The visits and today's talks take place before the upcoming summit meeting between the Persian Gulf Arab leaders and US President Donald Trump, scheduled for 14th of May in Saudi Arabia. Iran has also offered talks with the European Troika of Britain, France, and Germany, which are members of the 2015 nuclear agreement, also known as the JCPOA. The Iran-US talks, mediated by Oman, started in April and have been held twice in Muscat and on one occasion in Rome. Until now, both sides have turned the talks as constructive. Turaj Shiraliliu, reporting for A News TV, Tehran.
For his first trip outside the Vatican, Pope Leo XIV paid a visit to the shrine of the Mother of Good Counsel in Genazzano, just outside Rome. A News was there with our journalist Maria Rodriguez Abade on site. She witnessed the occasion firsthand and documented the key moments. Here's the report.
Pope Leo XIV made his first pastoral visit since election, arriving unannounced at the Basilica of Our Lady of Good Counsel in Genazzano, a moment witnessed by A News journalist Maria Rodriguez Abalde. As the first American Pope in history, he was warmly received by the Augustinian friars. He greeted the faithful briefly in the square.
Stato qui anche a Genazzano diverse volte da quasi 50 anni e sono molto contento di poter essere qui con voi. Voi avete un dono così grande con la presenza della Madonna di Buon Consiglio, però vuol dire che avete anche una grande responsabilità. Come la madre mai abbandona ai suoi figli.
The Pope's connection to Genazzano runs deep. Even before his election, he had visited the Basilica many times, most recently on April 25, during the feast of the coming of the Mother of Good Counsel. A News was present throughout, documenting every step.
There are several tracks in the peace process between Azerbaijan and Armenia, Azerbaijan's Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov told journalists. Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov noted that the text of the peace agreement was finalised in March and emphasised that Azerbaijan has legitimate expectations from Armenia. These include the removal of territorial claims against Azerbaijan from the Armenian constitution and the formal dissolution of the Minsk group, which is no longer needed following the resolution of the conflict. He added that Azerbaijan is closely monitoring developments and that contacts are ongoing. Afghanistan and Iran have taken a significant step toward deepening trade and industrial ties. Officials from both countries met in Kabul this week to discuss a wide range of initiatives aimed at strengthening economic cooperation. Our correspondent Tamim Bahis has the details from Kabul.
In Kabul, the acting Minister of Industry and Commerce Nuruddin Azizi met with Ali Raza Begdili, the acting head of the Iranian embassy, to chart a roadmap for stronger trade and industrial cooperation between the two neighbors. During the meeting, the two sides discussed plans to increase Afghanistan's exports to Iran, expand the role of the Joint Chamber of Commerce, establish joint industrial companies, and create a shared industrial free zone along the border. They also explored investment opportunities in key infrastructure projects, including the Kaf-Herat Railway. A statement from the Iranian embassy noted that officials from both countries reviewed plans for cooperation in trade and industry, with both sides expressing satisfaction over growing momentum and promising outlook for their partnership. The meeting also paved the way for an upcoming visit by Iranian's Minister of Industry, Mine and Trade to Afghanistan and the hosting of the 7th Joint Economic Cooperation Commission. Discussions also touched on holding a trilateral meeting between Afghanistan, Iran and India on the development of Chabahar Port, a key maritime hub located in southeastern Iran. Chabahar provided landlocked Afghanistan with vital access to international waters, bypassing Pakistan's ports. The port, which has been partially developed with Indian investment, is operational and handling cargo shipments, but remains under expansions to increase its capacity and connectivity. With trade routes and partnerships expanding, officials from both countries are optimistic about a future of closer economic collaboration. This is Tamim Bahis in Kabul for A News.
Ankara and Athens are setting their sights on deepening economic ties. Turkish and Greek officials say they're committed to boosting bilateral trade to $10 billion as cooperation expands across multiple sectors. The announcement came at the Turkey-Greece Business Forum held in Istanbul.
Cooperation between Ankara and Athens will expand across various sectors to help reach the $10 billion bilateral trade goal. Turkish Deputy Foreign Minister Mehmet Kemal Bozay said at the Turkey-Greece Business Forum in Istanbul. Bozay said Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's 2023 visit to Greece resulted in an agreement with Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis to strengthen economic ties, and the two countries' foreign ministers have been working closely together since then. Bozay emphasized the importance of expanding cooperation beyond traditional trade, pointing to new opportunities in transportation, infrastructure, tourism, and green innovation.
Beyond trade and infrastructure, there are vast opportunities for collaboration in sectors such as energy, tourism, digital technologies, and green innovation. By combining our respective strengths, we can create synergies that drive sustainable development and economic resilience. Last year, tourism between our two countries reached record-breaking levels. A total of 1.1 million Turkish tourists visited Greece, and 680,000 Greek tourists traveled to Turkey by the end of 2024. These impressive numbers are the result of the positive climate in our bilateral relations.
Greek Deputy Foreign Minister for Economic Diplomacy Tassos Hadjivassiliou also highlighted the role of economic diplomacy and mutual respect.
Dear friends, cooperation in the energy sector can make a meaningful contribution to regional peace and stability. Energy projects that bring mutual benefit also play a vital role in enhancing security across our region, which is full of challenges and turbulences in that period of time. For example, dear friends, the Trans-Anatolian natural gas pipeline and the Trans-Adriatic pipeline, two key pillars of the Southern Gas Corridor, are landmark infrastructure projects standing as strong examples of successful international cooperation in the field of energy.
Both sides say the path forward depends on sincere dialogue and mutual benefit, rooted in stability and international law.
That's all we have now from Baku. Stay tuned to A News for more updates.